welcome. Thank you all for coming. I'm excited to talk with you about safer living here in Ventura County, preparing our home and our lifestyle for safety, independence, and peace of mind. I'm guessing that you're all here because you care or are worried about an aging parent or loved one. And I want to discuss a few things. We're going to cover home health care, which is often just referred to as home health, hospice care, in-home care, safety devices and in-home hazards, and senior living and home modifications. So all these things that are coming as we age. Home health, you guys were probably familiar with, right? There's lots of agencies out there. If you have an injury or you have a health problem, you're going to experience some home health. The purpose is for short-term medical rehabilitation. So usually after a surgery or an illness or an injury, some sort of accident. And your doctor is the one who can set up your home health. Okay? Medicare does not cover long-term home care, but it covers home health. These are the skilled services that home health covers. They will cover you living and recovering in a skilled nursing center. They will cover home services such as physical therapy, speech language pathology. And remember, they come to you, right? Occupational therapy. They come to wherever you live. Wound care, injections, IV therapy, medication managed, and then even a home health aid if it's prescribed by your doctor. So a lot of people call us for home care and they're saying, well, my Medicare plan covers a home health aid. And it does, but it does not cover home care, right? So Medicare covers that aid only when you are receiving home health. So someone might come to your home to help you with something and assist you there. So you might get or your loved one might be prescribed a bath. And so someone will come and do that for you if you have a homebound qualification, right? And it is only temporary. So home health is temporary services. Okay, you have that qualifying medical condition, and it is zero only after you've met your deductible and out-of-pocket costs with your health plan. Okay? Sorry, questions about home health? Yes?
How much exactly does the aid do?
She said, how much exactly does the aid do? And the aid would be able to do for you what is prescribed by the doctor. Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, so they can do, usually it's bathing. Usually they'll help you with bathing, getting dressed. And typically they don't come every day. It's maybe like 3 times a week to help you with a specific need.
Right, so they're not going to come every day and help you get ready in the morning or do meals. That type of thing would be home care and not the home health aid.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is they're not going to go to your kitchen and to get you food or do any of that.
So what she said was the aid doesn't go to your kitchen and help you get food or help you with any of that. And that's correct. That's accurate.
It's more specific to a medical need that you were discharged from the hospital with.
So it's for a medical need that you're discharged from the hospital with.
Thank you.
Good questions. Anyone else? Okay. Hospice care. A lot of people associate hospice as like this thing that they don't want, right? That's out there. I don't want hospice. But it's comfort, dignity, and support for patients and families facing a terminal illness, right? The focus shifts in your medical care from cure to comfort. Okay, so it's comfort care. And hospice supports the whole person. It's not just for your physical body, oh, let's fix this ailment. No, it's supporting physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being and the whole family. And it comes to you. There are a few hospice homes here in Ventura. I don't know that there's any in the Conejo Valley anymore, but there are a few that you could apply to if they have openings. But generally speaking, hospice happens in your home. Okay, what is covered? Your nursing team, your staff, they call it an interdisciplinary team. The nurse, the aide, the social worker, and the chaplain are all covered under your hospice plan, which is no cost to you, right? Virtually all hospice is covered with zero cost to you. It's covered by Medicare, excuse me. The medications related to your terminal illness are all covered, and then short-term inpatient care when needed. So if you are taking care of a loved one who needs constant care, you would be able to, under hospice, request that they stay in a skilled nursing facility for a short period of time for your respite care. So you could go out of town so that you could recover from being that full-time caregiver. And you would have to coordinate with your hospice, with the hospice company, and they would help you make that happen with a skilled nursing facility. And then another thing is all of your medical equipment and supplies that you need are covered. So that includes everything from incontinence pads and diapers to the bed that you might need, a medical bed that your loved one might need. And so as soon as that the doctor gives the prescription for hospice care, you can receive those benefits. Otherwise, you're purchasing them out of pocket, right? Okay, and also they provide family grief and bereavement support. And that is really helpful after the loss of the loved one. It's not just home health and you lose your loved one and then you're done. There are support opportunities. There's social workers who will connect with you and help you manage the loss of your loved one. All right, so the next part is how is it paid? Paid for by Medicare Part A primarily. Medicaid also covers hospice. Your VA benefit would cover hospice, and then any private insurance, if you have a Medicare supplement, covers your hospice care. What it is and what it isn't. Hospice is a philosophy of care, a team-based benefit. There's a group of people looking out for you and helping with your care, the care of your loved ones. It comes to you, whether it's in your home or an assisted living facility or in a hospice home or facility. And it is that support for the whole family, and it's fully covered. Okay, what hospice is not? Hospice is not giving up. That's not what that means. When the doctor prescribes hospice, it's not like, oh, I'm done treating you. I'm done helping you. I'm done caring for you. That's not what hospice is. It's also not only for cancer, which is what a lot of people have heard. That's just not true. And it's not only for the last few days. Hospice care can go up to 6 months. And it could actually start, and then you get better, and you get discharged from hospice. And that's not the end. You could be put back on hospice later, or your loved one. It can happen multiple times if that's the journey that you're on. So just be aware that it's not that end-of-life death sentence when someone goes on hospice, but it is appropriate care for the health circumstances that you're in or your loved one is in. Okay, it's also not a curative treatment, so the doctor's not seeking a cure anymore. But that doesn't mean that you can't live past 6 months because hospice is termed to 6 months. It can go longer than that. And then we already talked about that it's not a place, it's a service, right? It comes to you. Has anyone had a family member, we've already had one person here, on hospice, and is there something you wish you'd known sooner? Amanda.
My uncle passed away and went on hospice, and I wish he would have done it sooner. He really suffered for a long time and didn't always get the accurate information from the hospital or from the doctors in order to make the decisions that could have given him more comfort for a longer time.
Yeah.
When you start going to hospice doctor. You have to go up your primary doctor. Right?
Do you know that answer to that, Amanda? That's a great question. He asked if you could transition back to your physician.
Yeah, you can.
After
You can
hospice.
come on and off of hospice anytime. Also, whichever hospice agency you choose to use is your choice. If you're at the hospital, they may recommend hospice companies to you, but you ultimately have the choice of who you use. And then you are correct, there are hospice doctors. And so when you go onto hospice, you can actually have that hospice doctor oversee anything else that you were having done before.
She also mentioned that you get to choose your hospice company. So if you or your loved one are being discharged from the hospital or a skilled nursing facility, you're going to go home and the doctor is going to prescribe home health. There's a list of companies that you can choose from. And then there's also word of mouth and people who you know and trust who may have already had great experiences or experiences that they would like you to avoid. And so talk to those that you know and trust to be able to navigate which company you want to bring into your family's home and into your life for this end of life care. Okay, we're moving on to home care. This is really good information because a lot of people confuse home care with home health. So home care is ongoing personal support that helps seniors stay safe, independent, and at home as long as possible. Now, if you're in an assisted living facility, home care can also come there and help you maintain your independence if you have a special need. It is assisting with aging in place and can be as many hours a week as you choose, right? It's not prescribed by a doctor. It doesn't have to come with a specific formula. It is your choice. And it fills in those gaps that maybe home health doesn't provide for, or that your hospice doesn't provide for. So a lot of times people might have home health and home care. Or they might also have hospice and home care, right? The two work together. Non-medical support. What's included? Companionship. Right? Sometimes as seniors, we're isolated in our homes by our medical conditions, maybe our mobility, our ability to be out in the world for very long. So when we're at home, we might need that companionship and social engagement. We also might need help with transferring and mobility. So you have someone there to help you get up and move safely to the next place that you want to be. Light housekeeping. Meal preparation, even shopping to help you at the grocery store. They can go and get what you need, or they can take you to go get what you need. Laundry, errands, appointments. Bathing, dressing, and grooming. So if you don't have that prescription, or your loved one doesn't have that prescription for home health bathing, you might need someone to come in and help your loved one get bathed and cleaned up for the week, or a few times a week. They also help with toileting and incontinence care, medication reminders. Now, a home care is not licensed in the state of California to administer medication. So they cannot give your loved one medication. They can remind your loved one to take medication and remind them the dosage that has been prescribed for them. But the licensing for home care does not allow them to give them any medication. They also provide supervision for safety and fall prevention. Have someone by their side, right? Now, how is it paid for? It's paid privately, out of pocket. So it's a cost that we have to prepare for. Unless we have a long-term care insurance plan, then you might have, if you have long-term care insurance, you'll have an elimination period, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, where you will pay for those services during the elimination period. And then once that 91st day comes, then your long-term care insurance will pay for it, right? You might also have a VA benefit. It's for the veteran themselves, and their spouse could have a home care benefit. You would have to check with your VA representative, but it is not covered by Medicare at all. So there's no coverage for home care in Medicare. The one that's missing from here is you might have a pension that has a home care benefit. So I know in California, a lot of people have worked for the state of California and have a CalPERS benefit, CalPERS pension plan. They were a teacher or they worked somewhere for the government, and their pension plan might have a line in there that says, 10 hours of home care a week, 20 hours of home care a week, and you'll have to meet their standards, the qualifications, in order to get that benefit. But if you have a loved one who might have those circumstances, you would have to check with their pension plan administrator to see what that is. So home care also goes by other names. It might be like personal care or custodial care or companion care. It's all the same service. So what to look at here, we're looking at hiring a private caregiver, as in I'm going to hire my friend to come and take care of my mother, right? Versus hiring an agency. Things to be aware of. The licensed agency will provide liability insurance, workers' compensation, backup caregivers if your caregiver is sick or something happens and they can't be there, or they want to go on vacation, right? Background checks. Social Security is handled, so we'll go to that in the next agency. Employee taxes are handled. Ongoing training and support. There's going to be a case manager, someone who could talk to the caregiver about something you want to be different or something you'd like to have improved in the situation or just changed, right? And then the only thing that the private caregiver can give you that an agency can't is a lower cost. Okay, that's the one thing that a private one does. The risks of hiring privately: caregiver injured on your property and no case manager oversight. So I actually went to a long-term care insurance presentation yesterday. And the long-term care insurance, of course, they love the product that they're talking about. But they said that they were visiting with one of our well-known Ventura County will and estate planning attorneys. And she goes, if I could just sing from the rooftop, one thing, I would sing from the rooftop, stop hiring private caregivers. Hire through an agency. Only hire through an agency, because I'm tired of litigating for people what is coming from hiring a private caregiver. And I was like really dumbfounded by that, because I didn't think that there were maybe that many lawsuits coming, but it was shared that it was falls, accidents in the home, people asking for back pay, people suing for inaccurate wages. They felt that they were owed more than they had received. All these things happen. Now, do you need to pay employment taxes? Per the IRS Household Tax Guide, taxes apply when you pay someone $2,600 annually or more, or $1,000 per quarter. So if you do that, then you're required by law to withhold and pay Social Security and Medicare taxes. 15.3% of cash wages. The employee's share is 7.65 and your share. And then you're also required to pay for federal unemployment taxes. So if you paid a private caregiver $25 an hour, it would actually come out to $30.35 if you set aside the money to pay those taxes, the Social Security. Okay, so it is a higher cost, and then you're required to do all that work, and then you would have to make sure with your homeowner's insurance that you could have someone employed there, and that would probably change, right? Change your rate. All right. Safety devices. There's so much great technology out there, right? You probably have heard about the medical alert systems, maybe a wearable pendant or a watch. Sometimes the Apple Watch has the heart rate and then can detect a fall. So that's similar, fall detection sensors. And then there's smart home cameras that your loved one can be notified if you fell in your home, or it would call 911. It has two-way audio. Motion activated lighting. You can set that up in your home so you don't have to find the light switch, that as soon as you start moving, it's going to turn a light on in a hall or in a bedroom, or maybe at the stairs. And then smart medication dispensers. We actually use these in home care as well. So sometimes our seniors are admitted to the emergency room because they've taken too much medication because they forgot about the dose they already took. And then they've caused a little problem because the medication is too much. And so a smart medication dispenser, it dispenses the correct dose at the right time. And then it alerts your loved one if you missed a dose so that you can make sure that that medication continues to be with them. My dad had a lung transplant. So many medications. I mean, so many. My mom would come out with like a breakfast tray and everything that he had to take with every meal, and everything was sorted out. And I just think, you know, it was very much life or death if he was taking everything at the right time so that he didn't reject the transplant. These things are amazing, this technology. And then also GPS trackers and door alarms, especially for our loved ones with dementia and Alzheimer's. My sweet neighbor used to come to me next door before she had a caregiver at their home. When her son was at work, her son lives with her, and she would come to me next door and she'd go, "Now, when did you move in? How long have you been here?" And I would say, "Well, I've been here for 14 years. She goes, "Well, no, you've not. The so-and-so lives here. She moved in 6 months after me, and I've only been here a year." Well, the houses were built in 1963, and she was having a hard time remembering. But many times we would find her out in the neighborhood until they had a caregiver there. But something like a door alarm or a GPS tracker would really help. Okay. Fall prevention walkthrough. You guys have probably heard some of these things before. Secure all the cords, address throw rugs. I have a great story. My mother-in-law and father-in-law love to travel. And they went to India, and she bought the most beautiful runner. She paid thousands of dollars for this beautiful runner. And that was my first thing I saw as a fall hazard. When I went to their home, they're going, "Oh, look at our beautiful rug." And I was like, "Oh, I wish that wasn't there." Because I worry about them stumbling and tripping on the edges. But it was gorgeous. So they have it shoved to the side so they don't walk on it because they don't want to trip. Anyhow, you take care of those throw rugs. Night lights in key spots. That good lighting is so important. Some people even install those light switches that light up to kind of give you a sense of where the wall is, right? So you can tell that. Lighting every transition, especially where there's a small step or maybe a threshold that has a little bump. Okay, clear all your walkways. Keep those things off the floor. Handrails on both sides. And then test your smoke and alarm detectors and make sure that we don't have to worry about our houses really being warm enough here in California, but we don't want them to get too warm, right? We don't have that cold. Okay, want you to think about your house and walk through it a little mentally and think if you can come up with anything. Another one, that my in-laws' house, their bed was very high. They loved it because they could store a lot under there. They had downsized their house, so then they had a lot of storage in their bedroom. And I talked to my mother-in-law and I said, "But what if you have to get out of bed really fast? Or what if you're startled in the night by something? Like, I worry about you getting hurt more because this bed is so high than having enough storage space." Well, it took 3 months, but she sent me a picture of a low bed. I was really proud of them. All right. Think of the cords, the rugs, the hallways, the cabinet that you're always going up on your toes to grab something. Or I mentioned to Shirley here earlier that we cared for a woman who every time she closed her microwave, she had to shove it so hard that she fell a few times. She would stumble backwards because it just took so much force to get that microwave to shut. So anything like that you have to give a lot of force to can also be a fall hazard because it'll throw you off balance. All right, 1 in 4 older adults fall each year. And most of the falls happen in our home. So it's really important to address these and be bossy with your friends a little bit. Help them stay safe. 95% of hip fractures are from a fall. All right. We talked about this. So in senior living communities, the senior living communities are built with some of these safety measures in mind. The hallways are a little wider. There's grab bars. There's an emergency call system. They have good lighting, and then there's people to help you on hand all the time. But you have to make sure, if you move into an assisted living facility, that you set up your space for safety as well. So you're going to make sure you secure the personal cords, and you clear the path to the bathroom, and you don't clutter the floor, right? And those throw rugs probably aren't going to work. And then you have to actually use your walkers and your canes. And then engage with the staff when you're there. Some people are frustrated that this is their new circumstance and they don't engage or become, have a relationship with them. So there's not that connection and that oversight where they're helping one another. And then make sure you're getting your medications reviewed regularly, because sometimes the falls happen because our medication's not quite right. We might get low blood pressure and get up too fast. All right. Then taking care of your home and getting ready for the long haul. So small changes can prevent big problems. If you do have long-term care insurance and you have submitted a claim, every long-term care insurance policy has a home modification payment. And I think what I learned yesterday was it's about $6,000 or $7,000 towards home modifications. And you don't need an elimination period for that if you have long-term care insurance. As soon as you are we submit a claim, excuse me, my wording. As soon as you've submitted the claim and it's approved, then you can receive that benefit for home modification. All right. Some of our tips here, right? The grab bars next to the toilet and in the shower. And there's companies out there that can do amazing things to make your home safer. We had a lady, they had an open shower, so no walls on two sides. And she's like, well, how can I step down this step? So there was a bar that was installed kind of to the ceiling, to the floor, so she could hold onto that and go through. I mean, there was nothing else. There was no place to put a grab bar, but they put it, they have these special kinds of bars and ramps and all kinds of things. Have a handheld shower head with a shower chair, your toilet seat raised, all these things. And then keeping in your kitchen everything you use regularly at eye level, right? So we're not going down or going up really high. So just make sure things are appropriate. And then we're going to put it into practice. So you have a little notepad here. There's a pen in every spot. So maybe you thought of something in your home or a friend's home or somebody else's home as we're talking about it. And you're like, oh, I'd really like to fix that. And if you're anything like me, you need a little note so you can remember it. So you're going to go talk to your neighbor or your friend. So do the walkthrough of your own home and talk honestly with your loved ones about your care. Whether I'm not afraid to go on hospice one day. Hospice is going to be okay with me. And make that plan, right? Also, you can plan for home care. This is when I want somebody to start coming in to take care of me or my loved one. And then you're going to price out any modification. You're going to say, well, eventually I'm going to have to put a ramp here because these steps are going to be too much, or this, whatever is going on in your home, and make a plan to prevent the fall. We want to prevent the accident. And pick a medical device to try, and then schedule a follow-up. So some of the home modification companies will just come out and give you a free estimate or a quote. And same thing with home care. So we will come out and do an assessment and say, this is what we would recommend for your situation. It's not oh, I called them out here, I have to have this service now. Of course, we would like to help you if we come out, but we do free assessments, right? I think every home care company does. All right. So think of one conversation you're going to have this week, whether it's with your child, your loved one, your neighbor, your friend. What can you do to help them live safer, or yourself live safer at home? Safety, independence, and peace of mind. That's what we're looking for. And at Pacific Coast Homecare, the word Pacific actually means peace, right? Peace of mind. So Pacific Homecare, peace of mind. You guys, thank you for coming. Does anyone have questions?